Now that I understand witchcraft, the magical nature of reality, it's kind of led me to this question: what is Disney, really? You know, it's easy to just say that it's a golem and leave it at that, but really I want to know, how does Disney fit into the broader landscape of American political witchcraft? It's funny though, because we're also numb to hearing about the magic of Disney, right? All those 90s VHS tapes, coming soon, the video, the magic of Disney. Disney kind of went out of their way to convince people that Disney meant quality, Disney meant special. It's funny because magic and marketing do tend to intersect. They both play with perception. My side of the internet have a very special nickname for Disney, and that nickname is the Devil Mouse. So we're gonna get a little weird here. The whole thing's weird. What am I talking about? I'm curious if anybody else has weird dreams about Disney. And I'm not like a Disney person. Disney people are real, okay? They're out there. I was always a little freaked out by people who like Disney just a little bit too much. Like, I have dreams about Disney all the time. They're usually buried like really deep in my subconscious, and I don't know they're there until I'm like washing dishes and it just like floats to the surface of my awareness, and I'm like, whoa. Like, I had this weird dream. I was like in this Disney place. I don't know what that is. I think it might be a lot of Americans can kind of astrally project into House Disney, into like the psyche of Disney, just because of their exposure to it, just because of how much there is of Disney. And I do think that there is kind of like this collective Disney consciousness thing. My dreams are not necessarily pleasant dreams. Usually my Disney dreams involve like big open halls. There's like a statue of Mickey. There's a hollowness there. There's something like kind of hollow about it. Astrally projecting into House Disney. Walt Disney seems to have had like an innate understanding of how magic works, and I want to get into that a little bit. Walter Elias Disney, kind of interesting that a man with so much power in the American landscape, and he's a cartoonist, right? What does that tell you about America? What does that tell you about what America is? Walt Disney was born in 1901 in Chicago. He grew up in Missouri, the center of the United States. A lot of people, including Joseph Smith and the Mormons, having the center of a country, of a continent. Something kind of magically significant about that. He was born right at the turn of the 20th century. So if you're born in 1901, you're coming of age right around World War I. You're in the prime of your career right around World War II. Video just was invented in 1888. This is an intense time to be born. The technologies are shifting. Communication is changing rapidly. Disney drew from the time that he was a little kid. He excelled at drawing. Drawing is an interesting word. You can be drawing a picture, or you can be drawing something towards you. You see what I'm saying? Drawing like a sigil, drawing. I want to read a little bit from Wikipedia. This is the accepted narrative of Walt Disney, right? Disney was a shy, self-deprecating, insecure man, but he adopted an outgoing public persona. Although there have been accusations that he was racist or anti-Semitic based, they have been contradicted by many who knew him. So according to Wikipedia, Walt Disney was not actually racist or anti-Semitic, which I know is very disappointing to a lot of you. Speaking of drawing, it's really interesting to me that one of the best known Disney logos is his signature. Interesting that a signature should be so iconic. That's also very magical. You know, writing is magical, let alone somebody's unique handwritten name. In magic, if you're using like a tag lock or a personal concern, a strand of hair or like a fingernail or a signature, that is one of the better tag locks that you can get for somebody. So it's kind of interesting that his signature is just out there for anybody to use. Let's get to know Uncle Walt just a little bit.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities. This pompous-looking individual is Doc, the self-appointed leader of the group. This little fellow is bashful. He's secretly in love with Snow White. And old Sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater.
I never knew that Grumpy was a woman hater. I just thought he was grumpy. I just thought he was like a grumpy dwarf. That adds something to it, doesn't it? To go back to that question of what is Disney, really? What is Disney? I thought about this question a lot. Disney was a man, Walt Disney. Disney was a family. Disney was originally two brothers, Roy and Walt. Roy was like the businessman and Walt was the artist. There's something very American about that split, right? Like a businessman and an artist, kind of like, okay. There's a story that Roy would always tell about Walt. Roy and Walt actually shared a bed when they were kids. Walt was 8 years younger than Roy, and he was a bedwetter. So he would end up peeing all over Roy when they were kids. And Roy would tell that story and he'd be like, yeah, and he's been pissing on me ever since. The two brothers, the two pillars, the businessman and the artist. So y'all know me. You know what I want to talk about. This is Walt Disney's birth chart. How incredible is it that he does in fact have a great conjunction in his chart? This is the rarest of the classical conjunctions, the greater malefic Saturn and the greater benefic Jupiter. To have them conjunct is known as a great conjunction. It's rare. Another interesting thing about this great conjunction is that right at 13 degrees Capricorn there is the star Vega, and Vega is part of the Lyra constellation. Vega, in my mind, connects with music. It actually is even more intense than that, though. This great conjunction is aspecting both nodes. If you know anything about my channel, I've talked about this before. The lunar nodes are the parts of the sky that the path of the sun and the path of the moon intersect. So they are imaginary. They're not physical objects. They're intersections of two paths. The south ties to the past, the north ties to the future. When you have a planet that is aspecting both nodes, that's a significant time for that planet and for the things that planet has rulership over in the material chain. A planet like Jupiter is associated with wealth, kingship, power. Christ is associated with Jupiter. Saturn is associated with discipline and the black cube imagery. There's all these different rulerships. I think of these planetary rulerships as kind of like the meridians of the body, but that body is the cosmos or the great chain. So you have this great conjunction and it's trining the south node and sextiling the north node. That's really interesting. The great conjunction on its own is interesting in any chart because it's like, okay, the energy was shifting when you were born. That's kind of what a great conjunction means, let alone one that's like aspecting both nodes like that. That's crazy. And this is the kind of birth chart that does kind of make me question the classical astrological approach to this, which would be that them being conjunct would be considered to be like a huge affliction on the planet Jupiter. So an affliction on the planet of wealth and abundance and joy and expansion. In the classical context, you would say that Jupiter's power is being constricted by Saturn. But seeing that aspect in Walt Disney's birth chart, it does kind of make you contemplate that more like modern aspect of it. A modern astrological interpretation of that would be kind of that the planets fuse in a sense when they're conjunct like that. Their energies like kind of fuse together and create something bigger than both, you know. Classical astrology, they just be like, oh, you're it's a terrible aspect on the greater benefic. Before I even started looking at the astrology of this, I wondered if like the Mickey symbol, basically just 3 circles, right? That's all this really is. Are they planets? What are they? I know people in the comments are going to be like, it's the alchemical tria prima of salt and mercury and sun. It's like, okay. You say that for everything. Like, yeah, I know. The Tria Prima, we get it. Oh, by the way, your birth chart does not remove your free will, okay? It just skews the stats a little. So we got another chart to look at. This is the founding of the Walt Disney Company. This is October 16th, 1923. And guess what, guys? There's another rare node configuration in this chart. Guess who's in aspect with both nodes? This time, it's Pluto. The exact same configuration that the Great Conjunction was in Walt Disney's chart, which is kind of strange, but it gets crazier than that. Guess which star Pluto was directly conjunct on the day the Disney Company was founded? The dog star. Pluto was conjunct the dog star Sirius on the day that the Disney Company was founded. That's kind of weird. Okay, if you're not familiar, Mickey Mouse has a dog named Pluto. Okay, just in case. If you don't know, Sirius is one of, if not the most magical star. Sirius is sometimes known as the star of Isis. He is a very magical star. But you know, Pluto is only conjunct Sirius once every 248 years, you know? Think of the probability of that, let alone for this very rare conjunction to be aspecting both nodes, this configuration that I'm obsessed with. Do you see why I'm kind of fascinated by node configurations now? Could the 3 circles possibly be Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto? I don't know. Naturally, I'm pretty fascinated by the decision to name Mickey's dog Pluto. Like, why did they do that? The discovery of the planet Pluto wasn't until 1930. So Disney was founded before Pluto the planet was discovered, allegedly. The character Pluto actually appeared in a Disney cartoon that same year in 1930, but he wasn't named Pluto until like 1931. Alright, if you want to support my channel, you can become a member here on YouTube. I'm going to be putting up some members only content soon, maybe some members only streams, or you can donate buymeacoffee.com/spicebear, or you can go to etsy.com/shop/spicebearreadings and buy a birth chart with me. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback for the birth charts. People really seem to like them. I have a few available. If they're out of stock, I update every week. I can only do so many a week, right? We got the ball rolling on, on the Walt Disney, the magic of the Walt Disney Company. It's all gravy from here. There's a lot to this. Yeah, support the channel, like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I actually don't care what you think. Thank you for watching.